First time I saw the rock art at Creswell Crags, I think I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Just didn't know we had anything like that in this country. Um, I came originally because I'd seen an image of the ochre horse, and I just thought that was the most beautiful, amazing object. And so came to see that, and then anything else was a bonus. Went on the tour into Creswell Cave to go and see the art, and I think I was just utterly overwhelmed with it all. Tour guide pointed out what I know now to be a 13,000-year-old reindeer, and I know that because the tour guides here were just so amazing, and pointed out some other things as well. And I think I was just so overwhelmed that I just couldn't get my head around it. That was 7 years ago, and I think I'm still trying to get my head around it. It's just an incredible, incredible thing that people did, and it's still here now.
The first time I saw the rock art here at Creswell Crags was in 2018. I was here with the University of Sheffield, and I remember just being amazed at how close to 10,000, 12,000 years ago we really were, and we could be right next to it. And I remember looking for the cave art because the tour guide kind of had us look for the cave art, and I couldn't see it at first, but then the second that they pointed it out, it was just in your face and you couldn't unsee it, and it was just a really amazing experience to be that close to history. I mean, I'm an archaeologist, but it's rare to get that close to the Paleolithic.
I think seeing and hearing people's responses to the art here is the highlight of this job, and that in itself is worth more than what I get paid to do this. It's just the most amazing thing. It's such a privilege and an honour to be part of that, to still be telling the stories that started about that art thousands of years ago, and we get a chance to carry on telling those stories. And I realise over time I've got this thing now where I don't look at the art, I look at the people's faces looking at the art, because I know every single time there's going to be a response. And sometimes it's immediate, and it's this just disbelief and a sharp intake of breath and an oh my goodness, and that's incredible, hearing that and seeing that. And then there's times where it takes a little bit of time to get your eye in, and people don't see it straight away, and people have to tell friends and family what they can see, and it sort of slowly dawns, and they're looking at the art over here, and I'm looking at their faces as they look at the art, because just that response is just an incredible thing, and it happens every single time. So that's just really poignant and really amazing that we get to carry on telling those stories and pointing it out, and hopefully in the future those people will come back and tell those stories as well.
I think children's responses to the cave art are actually really surprising, because you don't often think that they'll be really excited about the cave art or interested in it, but they really are, and they want to know why that they did this cave art, and they want to know maybe it was part of their environment, and maybe they were teaching other, like their kids, how to do things. And I think that that is actually one of the more poignant responses, because we often forget about kids in the past, and I really like seeing the kids' perspectives. And I think another thing, also women's responses when we talk about the marks at the bottom and potentially being linked to lunar cycles or even menstrual cycles. You can see the look in women's faces, especially whenever they're realizing that that might be part of their history too, and just it's really empowering.
Every tour into Creswell Cave to look at the art there is different, because every person that comes in is different, has a brand new response and different ideas and different questions and different links to all sorts of different things. So I think every single response I get is an interesting one, and that can go from anything from a small child looking at some lines on the rock saying that must be a racetrack for spiders, because spiders must go between the lines. We can't tell them they're wrong. Maybe that's what people did in the Stone Age, made a little racetrack for spiders. All the way through to people who are sculptors and artists and get a very emotional response to the more enigmatic marks and tie it in with their own own art and their own experiences. And then everything in between. So many different responses, because so many different people, and everybody comes with our own response and own question. So for me, every single tour is exciting and interesting, because I get to learn something and I get to watch people's reactions to this too.
So one of the most notable experiences I had giving a tour of the rock art was actually, it was myself as the tour guide, and I had a mother and her daughter who was a teenager, and the younger little girl was about 8 to 10, and they were really interested in the cave art. They wanted to learn about it. They were both into art. The little girls were into art, so they were really excited to see it. But I think the most memorable part of that experience was when we were talking about the markings at the bottom of the reindeer stag and linking that to, again, lunar cycles or potential menstrual cycles. And then we ended up talking about that and why you would need to keep track of that. And we talked about the markings in the back of the cave being representative, potentially either flailing birds or more likely side profiles of women. And we talked about women's representation in art and how often women are forgotten in cave art in terms of things like that. And it was just really empowering to be able to talk with these other women and these young girls about women were a part of history, and we got to talk about that and just how we were ignored for so long, and it's nice to see us kind of making a comeback, if you will. And it was just really empowering to be able to talk about those things with another group of women in the cave and just kind of help them form that experience with the cave art. And I think that was one of my most memorable experiences in the cave.
People that come to Creswell Crags and come and look at our caves and the art and just the whole gorge in general and some of the other, so many other things of interest in the other caves. There's so many questions. People are interested in so many different things. How old is this? Why were they doing this? What's that? Why didn't they sign the artwork? All sorts of different questions. And the answer to the vast majority of those questions is, we don't know, which is great. Because it means that we're going to learn things in the future. Hopefully, we're able to speculate. We're able to wonder, what is it about being human that makes us us, and what was it that people were doing then that made them human? And there's so many questions that we just can't answer, which kind of adds to the mystery of it all. And I think as a guide here, I often say that I've got three things. I've got a key to a cave, I've got a torch to show things, and I've got some facts. And after that, we're all in the same boat. There's so many things that we just wonder about and speculate over. And ultimately, the answer to these questions a lot of time is just, we don't know.